Okay, guys, so I got Omar here on the podcast. So most of you will know Omar from the Discord, but Omar has been with the 3% Club with us in the Discord since around November of last year. So we're now November 2025, so 1 year, and he is already at $850,000 of funding and pushing for that big seven figures by the end of the year, getting prop firm payouts consistently as well, and out living in Dubai, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah,
mate, thanks for coming on. And
no, thanks for having me, and yeah, it's a pleasure, man.
mate, it's great to chat. And what I wanted to talk to you about a bit about to start with was really how you got into this whole thing. So, did you start trading before the 3% Club, or was this the start of your trading journey? Where did it all begin for you?
No, no. So I first started with crypto back in COVID time. So 2019, I started crypto. Before that, I was more into like demo, trying to understand everything. I started with crypto. It was great actually. I knew one of my family friends. He was big in crypto, and he was like showing me Ethereum at like $40 and all of that, and inspired me. So I started in crypto, invested in crypto, started trading, spot trading on crypto. Um, then I lost all my money because I was being greedy, as you do. Um, and then I started trading personal accounts. So I hopped on over to forex, and as you do when you first start, you go into gold. Lots of volume, great, but if you're a new trader, you know you're gonna lose all your money. But when I first started trading, um, maybe it's beginner's luck. I did make absolutely great profit in the first 3 weeks, and it was like turning $1,000 into 10,000 in 3 weeks. Obviously, there is nothing called risk management at that point.
Yeah.
Um, there is no risk management. I didn't understand that's not proper trading really. You're basically gambling, and just because you're lucky and all of that, you're actually making money. Um, but then I lost it again, all that money. So I was up 10,000. I didn't take it out. I lost it all. Um, so yeah, my trading experience or career has been up and down, up and down, up and down. But I don't know. There's something that always kept me going, and I really felt it. It was like last year when I finished. So I finished my contract at sea, and then I was like, what, I'm just gonna stay 1 year in Dubai. I'm gonna just focus on trading 100%. And I started another personal account, put a deposit in, and then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna make some parameters for myself. Maybe that's when I first introduced risk management into my strategy or whole trading. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna risk $500 on each trade, and I'm gonna aim for a 500. If I get 500 a day, I'm happy. I'll take that, I'll withdraw it, it's in my bank within, a couple of hours. I'm happy with that. And so I done that for like, a few months, and then I was like, wow, this is great. And what I loved about it was the freedom. So I was like, you had a good routine. You'd wake up, you go to the gym, you'd have breakfast, you'd trade for a bit, you'd make your $500 or whatever you made, you withdrew it, and then you live life. And that's always what I've been after. Then I got introduced to prop firms, started with prop firms, and then obviously um, I still have that mentality of not trading properly. So I took that over to prop firms, and then he kept losing. I kept losing, 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 and then spending like 3 months on an eval, and then blowing it at the end. So yeah, it was just it was just a cycle. Um, Yes, I learned a lot, but I wouldn't say it's the best way to learn trading because, even coming into the 3% group, you know, I still carried on that bad habits for the first couple of months, you know.
Mm.
Yes, I'm over it now, but if you were a fresh trader that didn't know any bad habits and you learned it the right way from the first time, you're going to save so much money, you know, and you're going to learn so much quicker.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And what did you, so when you started, or even just before you came in the group, were you trading a certain strategy? Had you learnt that from a different place, or were you just trading what you'd learnt on like YouTube, self-taught? Like,
Yeah. So it was mostly YouTube. So I spent a lot of time in YouTube, learning ICT, all of that stuff, and it basically ICT, all of this, all to me, all strategies are the same, but they've all got different names. And you kind of realize that later on when people are like, oh, it goes here, it sweeps this low. Yeah, that's a liquidity sweep. Another concept calls it, I don't know, some low, or you know what I mean, or in our case, it's like, a high or this or a daily. At the end of the day, it's all the same because if our strategy works and price goes from A to B and then B to C, and then the other strategy does the exact same thing, but he's named it another name, yeah, it doesn't matter because at the end, it's all the same. Everyone's just, named it differently. Same with ICT. ICT, he didn't create any strategy. He just named it and then he just explained it. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was, yeah. So I used to trade all of the, liquidity sweeps, fair value gaps, target the next high. It was more scalping and, yeah, scalping with, blindly,
Mm,
which
yeah.
is, I would say, the
Yeah,
right word.
you're right in saying any strategy can work. I think it's like down to the data. If you just got the data on the strategy and you see what, because our
Exactly.
goal is just to do more of what works, less of what doesn't, right? So if you've got the data on
100%.
the edge, you can just eliminate what isn't working and refine what is. And that's for me why I always came back to simplicity, so like just levels. And rather than looking at like 10 different entry models on a level or whatever, a supply demand zone, just sell the level or just buy the level. Like just
100%.
stop looking
Yeah.
for the 1 minute inverse fair value gap break and the 15-second
100%.
change of structure and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. But
um
it's like also like to continue on your point, that will always, but that's why trading will always be there. Because if you're a successful trader and I'm a successful trader and we both look at a chart, you're gonna be like, no, I'll take a sell, and I'll be like, no, I'll take a buy. But you're so profitable and I'm so profitable, but we have completely different, views.
yeah,
And that's why I think trading's always gonna be here because it's always gonna be someone's gonna look at the chart, I'm gonna buy, someone's gonna look, I'm gonna sell, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly, because everybody's looking at it differently. They're looking at it as they are rather than as the chart
Exactly.
is. Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
100%.
So, mate, so then you got into the 3% club and you started trading R edge. Do you just exclusively trade levels now, or do you add your own stuff into it? Do you do stuff like 1 minute confirmations or anything like that? Do you just buy or sell the levels?
No, like, so what I would definitely, I'm still using the levels. Um, but I'm also really up to date with news and really up to date with order flow and what I think is most probable that price would do. And based on that, I would then up my risk or lower my risk, you know. So I'm looking like, okay, do I think, with the shutdown right now, do I think really America's doing good? Is it more probable that price is going to go up or down? Or do I think, okay, if I'm looking at EU and if I'm looking at EU and then I'm looking at DXY, you know, is it like more probable for price to go all the way down there then come back up in one day? So um I've moved into thinking more about probabilities and what's more realistic. I'm not looking, to be fair, I used to be like, I want that 10R. You know what I mean? I want to make that 20K payout, but it really got me nowhere. But it's different when you've got multiple accounts and then you make 2K here, 2, 1, 3, it all adds up at the end of the month.
Yeah,
So I thankfully I changed my thinking and I started to think more realistically um of what I think is more probable to happen. And yeah, until now it's working good.
good. And I noticed you take, so you messaged the other day when you passed an account, it was like EU had done about 15 pips off the level. And you were like, that one's taken me over the line. So you're taking more aggressive targets on the challenges and the evaluation?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. So when I first started, as I said, like I would take so long to pass, and then I'll blow that count. And then I'm like, okay, well, what's the point here? I'm not making any money. Um, until I was like, okay, actually, one of my other friends who is a good trader as well, he would also high risk on evals, and then so he introduced me to it. I was like, you know what, let's try it. And how I started is that, okay, instead of buying a 200K account, I would split it into four, buy 450K accounts, and then I've got four times the chances of passing. And it also helps your psychology because, see, if I put that $1,000, for example, in FTM or 200K account, all I'm thinking about is to pass that. My life depends on it. Your psychology completely changes. It's not just a challenge. You now think about it as if it's like life or death, and that's not a good way to think as a trader. You know, because then you're gonna start revenge trading. You're gonna start instead of risking 2% on an EVA, you're gonna risk the full thing. Then you're gonna go into restrictions. Then you're gonna do all sorts of stuff that you're gonna regret. You know what I mean? So how I found, I was like, okay, instead of doing that, I'm gonna split it. I'm gonna buy multiple accounts, and then I'm gonna rotate them. You know, yes, I'm gonna try and risk my max. Okay, 2.5%. I'm obviously you read the prop firms and what's their maximum, like alpha. If you risk more than 2% on the eval, you get restricted. On Titan Capital, if you risk more than 3%, you don't get restricted. They put you back to phase one. So obviously taking that into consideration, you trade multiple accounts, and then even if you lose three, you blow three, and you pass one and you make a payout, you are gonna make your money back.
Mm.
You know, if you're too afraid or too scared to lose money in trading, you're never gonna make money. Because what's the difference between trading? Like I always, when I speak to people, I always tell them, okay, what's the difference between trading as a business, and that you have to think about it in a business mentality, and opening a coffee shop or a restaurant? You know what I mean? How is it that when you put money down to open a restaurant, you feel much more, um, you know, you're much more calm about it. You're much more, well, at trading, you're like, oh no, I need to really put a lot of money down, or I'm afraid I'm gonna lose it. Well, why don't you see the same about opening a restaurant? It's the
Mm.
exact same thing. There is nothing 100% that your restaurant's going to, but based on your plan, based on your risk management, based on your strategy, based on that, it's more likely you are going to be profitable. So the same is with trading. If you take that same mindset and same thought into trading, you are going to be successful.
Yeah, mate, that's interesting. And you said something that I want to pick up on there, which was that you rotate your account. So, touching on that, do you go, say, if you bought 450Ks, you
Mhm.
trade one until it's passed, or do you trade one trade on each one and recycle that way? Or would you just trade one till it's done?
So it would really like depend. Like, okay, I would take, for example, since I've got funded, I've got live accounts, I've got challenges. What I try to do is like, okay, if I'm in a trade, I'm in like I'm on it on like 5, 6 different accounts, you know. Um, so when it comes to evals, I do try and pass them as quick as possible, but also I try to rotate. So I would aim to like yani pass within, you know, 3 trades, 4 trades maximum. I want to pass a phase,
Mhm,
you know.
mhm,
Um, so I would take them on different accounts, but I wouldn't just trade one until it's passed and then move on to the other one. I'll try to, you know, include each account at least, once or twice a week. I'm trading that account. But it's then different when you go on your live funded, because if I've got 5 live funded accounts, that's the beauty of rotating the accounts, is that, you know, if I've got 5 accounts again and I trade each one, once a day, for example, say that yes, you do have a strategy that shows you opportunities every single day, but the beauty in that is that even if you're up on one and you're down on four, you're still guaranteed a payout,
mm,
you know,
mm.
and that's the power of rotation. Even if you're up 2%, 4%, whatever you are, 1%, you're still up. And if you're down, every other account is down. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You're still gonna get paid. You
Yeah,
know?
I've seen that. So I've seen that with traders that have got like max allocation with FTMO, and then
Yeah,
they've had like 10K months, 12K payout, 15K payout, whatever. And then eventually the losses come, like with any system, you get the drawdowns. So then they've been doing 2% risk, say, or 1% even, and they hit 3 or 4 losses in a row. And then all of a sudden they spend the next like 4 months clawing back out of the drawdown because they then lower their risk. They don't want to lose the account.
exactly.
So it's 4 months of not getting paid. So yeah, they had the big payouts, but now they got to go 4 months with no payouts because they
Yeah,
haven't just kept one or even two of the accounts aside just to make money from. And like you said there, those you could claw your way back at a drawdown. Say you take 5 wins in a row and you get back to break even. Those 5 wins could have been placed on 100K over here somewhere, and you're getting paid
exactly.
again. 80% of the 5K that you've made. So yeah, mate, that's I think that's the way to do it. I believe like everyone I've seen that's successful in the prop firm space is doing that. And do you know what's mad is that I've got a few friends that are big traders, like big institutional traders from back in the 90s, early 2000s. I've met them through the expos and become friends with them. They fail prop challenges, most of them, because they try and trade them like how they used to trade. So
Yeah,
one of the top traders that I met, he had a 28% win rate, but his average risk reward was 1 to 12. That 28% win rate means that he would lose like 8, 9, 10 trades in a row quite often. And every time he'd do a prop challenge, he'd hit that losing streak, fail it, and
straight
then
away.
decide this isn't really trading. It's not really
Yeah,
trading, it is trading, but it isn't trading, right? And you said something really interesting before the call, which was, um, and I just wanted to pick up on it because it was good, but it was basically along the lines of the fact that this is kind of the easiest, most difficult money that you'll ever make, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, what's easier than just, looking at your phone and, deciding whether to click a buy or a sell, you know? But on the other hand, it's like the hardest decision to ever take, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And but that's why people like go into trading with a wrong mentality and wrong mindset that it is easy money, you know? But and then they go in, they think it's easy, then they start losing all their money, and then they're like, wow, it's actually not that easy, you
mm,
know.
mm,
You actually need to you actually need to learn something. You actually need to put your time in. You need to study something. You know what I mean? You need to understand what's going on. And we talked about it before the call, if it takes you, if you're happy to do 3 years in uni or college and you're happy with that, but you're not happy to do, 6 months or a year of learning trading, and you think it's gonna work when you just do like a week, or just see some videos on YouTube or TikTok, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you gotta. I think people like don't give trading that much respect, and then they go into trade and then lose all their money, and then they keep going into that cycle, and then they lose all their money, and then all of a sudden, trading's a scam, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So what do you think then separates you? Because you've had success pretty quick. Because you've obviously you traded before, but since kind of taking prop firm challenges maybe in February of this year, only in November, and you're at
Yeah.
850K of funding. What do you think is the difference? What do you think separates you from the people that get in that cycle? That cycle of that maybe that cycle that you were in before. Before you started
Yeah,
trading.
don't get I was the same. I was really the same. Like I lost a lot of money in when I came to trading, but I think that we're talking about this again, like trading's a mindset. If you want to become a trader, if you can accept all the downs and all the cons of trading, you will get over it. If you're consistent enough, if you show up every single day and you try and learn something, you will succeed. There is like I've never seen anyone who's put 100% into anything and has not succeeded.
Mm,
It's like absolutely not possible, you know? And the thing is, the funny thing is, that's you as a person, as a human, since you were a kid. You know what I mean? You went to school, you studied, you passed school, you went to uni, you studied, you put 100%, you passed, you became whatever you became. You know what I mean? That's why did you do that? It's because you were dedicated, you were consistent, and you put work into it.
mm,
So why can't you take that natural, you know, that natural move that you would take as a human and you put it into trading? You know what I mean? If you put 100% into anything, there is no way you're not gonna succeed.
no.
There's absolutely no way, you know? And like that's why I kept telling myself, okay, I failed a lot of accounts, but I'm always like, okay, one more, you know, okay, one more, but one more in a proper way. Like, okay, one more, and then I learn from my mistake, not one more and I do the exact same mistake, which that's how I used to be. I'll be like, okay, let's put another $1,000 into account, or let's buy another funded account,
Yeah.
you know, and then do the exact same mistake. Yes, okay, then that's, you know,
Yeah, that's what I tried to do with my mentorship, right? So I recognize loads of traders do that. They fall in that cycle. There's a gap there, and the gap is that everybody's focused on the outcome. So everybody wants to make X amount, like you said, you want to make $500 a day. So you're always focused on the outcome, but you're never actually focused on the process. And the process is just what you just said there. It's just showing up every day, putting in 100%. And for me to translate that for like the new trader, it was the data, right? So just build a spreadsheet, build a Notion, build whatever, a Google sheet, whatever, and fill it out every day. All your goal is to fill out that spreadsheet every single day. And if you do that, it's really surprising how the profit just starts to come in and you start to become a profitable trader.
100%.
And even if you're not, you can look at the data and you can go, well, I've got 50-50 win rate at 1 to 1. So I'm break even. Oh, actually, if I reduce my stop loss by 5 pips, then I have a slightly better risk reward at 50-50. So now I'm a profitable trader. You make that one adjustment on your data and all of a sudden you're profitable, right?
100%, yeah.
In terms of your trading, so do you find that because obviously we went through quite a quiet August this year, right? So the market was very, very subdued, and we were talking through that, and you said to me a few times this will sieve out a lot of the rubbish traders, the people that can't be patient, and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
100%, yeah.
So do you find that that's something that you're pretty good at now, like sitting on your hands when it's quiet, or do you still struggle through those periods?
No, no, like now, okay, I'm happy to take one trade, two trades a month, But again, it's different when you've got multiple accounts,
Yeah.
because with those multiple accounts, if you take the two trades and they're winners, you're saying, 5 figures, which is, it's okay to live by, But with other people that have only got one account and are, I don't know, maybe they've got debt, they've got this. There's a lot of external factors that, you know, um, that need to be considered as a trader. But if you can like just solely focus on how to become a good trader, as you just said, money is gonna come.
Mm.
If you just focus on how to become a good trader. How do you become a good trader? You follow your strategy, you've got a good risk management, you're patient. I mean, if you try and master those qualities, money is just an outcome, just happens to be an outcome of what you put in, which is patience, you know, consistency and all of that. What I mean?
Yeah, and did you find, because so now you're doing those one or two, maybe two trades in a month because you're just locking in the payout, right? So you're getting X amount in the account, then you're waiting to get paid, and you move on to the next account or whatever. But when you were trying to pass the prop firm challenges, so this is a question really from me, and I reckon other people would have the same question. So I bought five prop challenge, six prop challenges or something at the start of the quarter, right? And I passed two so far, and the others are all ongoing. But for me, waiting for one or two trades a month on passing those accounts is too slow. I want to get them done pretty quick. So did you find when you were doing the challenges and the evaluations to get to this 850K and through the course of this year that you were pushing a bit harder, taking higher risk setups, or is that just for your live that you're taking the really low risk one or two good trades a month?
Yeah, but again, when I first started, like what I want to do is when I pass an account is that I don't want to blow it. I kind of look at it as in, okay, this is my only source of income, you know, and that's how, okay, yeah, it's not really, it might not be true, but you have to think about it that way, that it's how much money you keep, you know not how much you make, it's how much you can actually keep. So how many accounts can I keep? Because I've always had this idea or bigger view or vision of having 2 million in funded or even just 1 million in funded. What I mean? So that was always my end goal. you know and if I high risked every trade on a funded, even when I was just starting, and then I lost it, I'm only gonna delay. I'm just gonna delay it. What I mean? And I'm kind of lucky that, I sat down by myself and thought about it realistically. And I'm like, okay, am I gonna do the exact same as what I've been doing for the past, 2 or 3 years? Where has that gone you? You know,
Mm. So
Nowhere.
yeah, exactly. And then so on the evaluation, if we talk in more like a little bit technical terms, because people want to know. So obviously I wait for market alignment. I'm pretty strict on that. I need to see things line up. Do you have like a way that you would trade the live where say you would always wait for alignment, but then maybe on the
Yeah, yeah.
evaluation you wouldn't? You would just go for any level?
100% on a live, I would always want the full confluences
Mm,
and especially alignment. I think alignment is, one of the most important things you should always wait for. Especially you should always look at DXY if you want to trade anything else that's related to dollar, especially euro and GBP. It just gives you that more confidence.
mhm,
I mean,
mhm,
and and also it's like it's not gonna be like, oh, the dollar okay, maybe rarely, but it's never gonna be that, dollars going up and euros going up and GBP is going up and everything. No, of course,
mm,
they're all
mhm,
inversely correlated. And
mhm,
based on that, I take, okay, if I see that it's a very good, the probability of it working out is high, I think is going to be high. Okay, let's put some risk on the table,
mm.
you know.
Yeah.
But 1% risk on, three, four live accounts, in order to make, if it's a 1 to 2 R, you're pretty sorted,
Yeah.
and that's just because you've got multiple accounts and you're rotating them, or even you've got that many accounts that you can be in 10 and you can be in a trade on 10 other accounts,
Mm,
and still have another 20 somewhere else.
yeah.
You're still rotating them,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you're right. I think, with the funded, I find that if you're taking 1 to 1s, 1 to 1.5s, your win rate goes up. So you don't hit those long drawdown periods. But if I look at my account, say my real money account, and I want to make X amount in a year, like 20 to 30% is a good year for me. That's what I'm looking for. I would trade typically 1 to 2 because I'm going to make more money over the 12 months. But because of prop firms, we're going for either a payday, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I haven't taken a trade in this account. I can get a profit split next Thursday. So if I
yeah,
fund one trade and take 1 to 1, I'll just put the payout in. You do trade them
100%.
you do trade them differently. So I was going to ask you, are you still trading some live funds, or are you just purely prop firm at the
Pure
moment?
prop. Pure prop. Yeah, yeah.
And any
It's
plans to do that?
live. Maybe if I get to like, okay, you start making, 20, 30K a month, or 50K from different prop firms, and you've got the extra cash, okay, put it in, and, you're not subjected to any rules or, restrictions on any of that. Maybe, yeah, why not? But only if I can, reach to that monthly payouts of 50 or
Yeah,
50K a month. That would be great, yes, let's put it on a live. And but again, it's all like how I always like speak with people, and it's like, how I changed my thought is not how much money I make, but it's, as you always say, also it's percentage wise, so like if I'm thinking, okay, in order to trade properly, have a proper risk management, you think percentage wise. You don't think by, it's 2K or 3K or 4K. No, like, because that's not good. One 1% on 1,000 is not like 1% on a 200,000 account.
I
You
know,
know,
right? Yeah, 20 to
and
30% on a million is 20 to 30% on a
exactly.
million, right? Yeah,
So it's like if you think about it in percentage wise, is gonna be much better, because like again, that's why I always also tell to people, if you can afford to get a higher account, for example, a prop firm, do it. You know, you're wasting time getting a 5K account or a 10 because you're trading the exact same. Just don't focus on the number, what it says on MT5 or C Trader on the top. Yeah, you're up 500 or 100 or even £10 or 10,000. You know, when you think about it percentage wise, it's the exact same.
mm,
You know,
mm,
someone else could have a 200K and I have a 10K account, and we do take the same exact trade, risking 1% to make 2%. You know, he's made four and I've made 20 quid,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and it's the exact same trade,
yeah,
So it's also, if you can change your mind, think about it percentage wise, you'd realize that, okay, the only difference is the exact same. Like,
yeah,
well, the only difference is, yeah, instead of paying, £300, I'm paying 80 quid for a 10K account.
yeah. Do you know, I think you've touched on it there, but there's nothing as scalable as trading. In terms of as trading goes, it's not time for money. You don't have to work harder. You don't have to work more. You don't have to be more focused. You do the exact same thing. You just have more money behind
Yeah,
you, and you make more money. There's
for
not many
sure.
jobs like that, is there?
Like again, the a thing that you've probably seen a lot, but trading goes against the human nature in the point that, you know, we've always been raised and always been taught, even at school, as a kid, work hard, work more to make more. That's human nature. Work more, make more. In trading, no. Actually, if you work more, you're facing more risk.
Yeah, you lose
You
more.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
You lose more. But if you in trading, it's like work less, make more. Take one, two trades a month, you're making more than someone's working, 12 hours every single day.
yeah,
And all you needed to do is just be patient.
yeah,
So that's I think trading has definitely like one of the hardest thing to overcome is your psychology
mm,
and and how you think about it. And unfortunately, no matter how much you speak to people about it, it cannot be taught. Like people really have to like go through it. I feel they really have to go through it. They really have to like understand it and they really have to like sit with themselves and actually think realistically
Mm.
about trading, because again, how myself or yourself will feel during a trade is completely different.
Yeah.
You could be you're completely calm. Me, on the other hand, no, I want to rescale, or I'm in drawdown. I'm just gonna exit here. I don't want to look. You know what I mean? And you, on the other hand, you're like, okay, I'm happy. I've risked. I've put on the line 1%. If it hits it, no problem. You know?
Yeah. Do you know my tip for that was to focus on, so as soon as I'm in a trade, I pull up my journal and I fill out as much of it as I can when I've entered the trade. And then I'm just leaving the bits blank, and all I'm thinking is I'm waiting to fill that out. So I'm waiting to fill out the win loss column. I'm waiting to fill out the drawdown column. I'm waiting to fill out the missed potential column. That's all that matters. I've just got to fill that out.
Yeah.
But the thing I find hard is that when you're doing a prop challenge, you are a bit focused on the money because you have a target. Whereas, like with my own trade accounts, I've never had a target. I've never had a like, oh, like say we're coming to the end of October. Say I was in drawdown, I'd be thinking, oh, I've got 4 days left or whatever to try and get this account in the plus. I don't think like that. I just think over 12 months it will make X amount. Sometimes on the
Yeah.
prop, I find myself thinking, oh, I wanted to pass this account by this week. And I'm sort of looking for a trade more. I'm looking for an amount on the trade rather than just putting it in the journal, right? Do you find that you've been like that, or have you had more? Is that something you've had to work on, or you've had it?
I, of course, had to work on, of course. But you also have to think that, okay, all of these, profit targets, your drawdown, all of this, prop firms, challengers are made for you to lose. They're not made for you to pass. That's how they make money,
Mm,
you know. They make money when you lose, or when we all lose, that's how they make money, and that's how they keep in the business. So therefore, again, they're always trying to trigger psychological effects on the trader, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And if you can realize that early enough in your trading career to be like, okay, I don't really care about that. Even okay, yeah, I say, yeah, try and pass quickly, but if your whole idea, your bigger vision is that no, I don't want to be a victim of what they're you know, trying to put out there, which is basically triggering you psychologically,
mm,
making you take, dumb decisions. Which again, when you're like, there's only 3 days left to the end of the month, I want to be in the green.
yeah,
What are you gonna do? I'm gonna go and put 10 lots on gold,
mm,
to
mm,
try and get into green or trying to get into break even. Why? Because it just looks better. It makes me feel like, I've not lost anything,
yeah, yeah,
you
for
know.
sure. Yeah,
And at the end of the day, it's not even your money,
yeah,
you
of
know.
course. Well, the downside risk is so minimal with prop firms, right? It's
Exactly.
where
It's
where
it's
can you
not
put
even your
500
money.
quid? Yeah, where can you
No
put 500
way.
quid into a business and start making an income? There's no way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, people think, if I lose 500, that's from my money. No, it's not from your money. You know,
Mm,
it's all simulated. When you're on a live account, it's still simulated. It
mhm.
does not happen.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And if you can just think about the bigger picture of, no, listen, I want to be that knife in the back of a prop firm. You know, I don't want to be a victim. Um, of their psychological tricks that they do, which is so like, okay, you kind of get it when you're more into it and more into trading, but you can really like see, yeah, they're putting you in, you can't do this, or you have to wait 2 minutes, or you have to, well, before there was time restrictions and all of that, to make you, trade more. I mean, I know with one of the prop firms, they're like, oh, you need to trade a certain amount of days and make a certain amount of money to get your first payout. You know what I mean? And all that's doing is trying to force you to trade. And there's no problem with that. But if you're smart enough to be like, okay, listen, I know what this is about. They're trying to make me force a trade, not follow my rules. So instead of just winging it, just to make however $200-300, no, just be like, okay, there is not what's gonna happen,
mm,
you know?
mm.
I'm just gonna wait an extra 2 weeks. I'm gonna miss this pay cycle, no problem.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna take proper trades.
yeah,
If you can get to that point and think in that way, you are gonna be successful in trading, especially with prop firms.
yeah, for sure. Mate, listen, it's got dark wherever you are, so the sun's set.
Yeah,
We've been talking for a while.
yeah, it's getting dark. Yeah, it's about 6 p.m. here.
Yeah, nice. Mate, you've dropped some absolute bombs of wisdom there and knowledge. I think loads of people would take loads from this. But I was going to ask you for on a personal note, just to finish off, have you got what's the future plans? Have you got some plans with this prop firm stuff, or even if you want to share anything outside of trading, have you got some stuff coming up? You know, where are you headed with this?
Yeah,
What's the ultimate goal?
my ultimate goal is to, well, as you know, my profession, I work at sea. So my goal was always to get out of sea and be more involved in, with my family, be around them. I'm a social guy. I like to be around, and I found that trading is going to give me that freedom. But obviously, if you just have one means of income, you're only one step away from being poor. So yeah, I'm trying to take the profits from prop firms, putting them into other businesses like Airbnbs and all of that. So I've got a
Mm,
few here in Dubai now. I'm actually sitting in one just now, which I'm just furnishing and finishing off. So hopefully it'll be live within the next, few days. And then I'm just gonna do the exact same with prop firms. I'm gonna do exact same with Airbnbs, and just
exciting.
scale up.
Yeah,
And exactly, and just you get more, get more, get more, and you just do the exact same. It's funny how any business, just the basics are the exact same,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah, the man hopefully into property and yeah, what I want is to just have like real good passive income with real generational wealth, hopefully.
Mm,
And yeah, hopefully that's what we're aiming for, always the bigger picture.
yeah.
And
Amazing. I love it.
hopefully that works out.
It's working out so far, mate, and you're not that far into the journey, so a good
No,
start,
no,
right?
it's all thanks to you, bro. All thanks to
No,
you.
not at all, not
All
at all.
thanks to you,
Mate,
man.
I always say I give the lemons, you make the lemonade, you know?
No, no, without your strategy, bro, of course we wouldn't be here, you know.
Who,
So we thank you for your time and your dedication, and it's really really rare. Like even now, when I look, because now I'd like to say I know a thing or two about trading, not to your level, but I can tell if someone's a scam or no. But when I look outside, I'm like, man, what the hell? These people absolutely know nothing about trading, and they're all doing these mentorships and all of that. And then I look at yourself and I'm like, this guy actually knows, you know, the proper fundamentals of trading, you know.
yeah,
And yeah, for that, to be honest, you got all my respect. And
thanks, mate. I appreciate that. No,
yeah,
there's a lot
man.
of them around. It's a corrupt industry. I've been around it long enough to see some things myself. And those guys, they're making 10 times what I'm making, but they're doing it in and having to sleep at night knowing that they're just ripping everyone off and they're just
Yeah,
teaching them a load of garbage. So at the end of the day, you got to have
exactly.
good karma as well, and you got to feel good about what you're actually doing in life as
100%.
opposed to just making money, right?
100%.
Well, mate, listen,
100%.
thank you very much. It's really been a pleasure, and hopefully you guys have all taken something from that because there was a lot of wisdom imparted from Omar there, and also it looks like it's like midnight where you are, mate. It's pitch black. You need to get the lights
Yeah,
working.
sunset. Yeah, yeah. Till the lights are in it.
All right, mate. Well, we'll keep up with you in the traders chat, but let us know when
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
hitting that seven figures, right?
Hopefully soon, man.
Cheers, mate. Thanks again.
Hopefully soon, man. Right, man. Take care, yeah.